Hey guys.
How are you doing today, Russell?
Nice
Hey, good morning,
meet
Russell.
you.
How are you doing?
Oh, there was just a little bit of a lag there, but I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Everything is great. It's been a great month. There's been a lot of feedback. We've been sending out feelers about this Trillium Gold story. So there's a lot of excitement. I'll give a little bit of a preface here. And I don't want to be too overly promotional, but this has got, you've got the right team. You're definitely in the right postal code, near evolution, near the kind of Dixie trend. I want to say there's a very similar geological settings with what's going on with Great Bear. Fully funded, good capital structure. So there's a lot of people looking to go, ooh, is this going to be an extension of that story? So that's kind of where I'm looking at this as being, is without putting on the spot and predicting the future too much, is that's the feeling I've got. And we're certainly excited to have you on and to walk us through the whole story, how it came together, some of the key aspects of it. And just, where you think gold is going as well. So appreciate you being on, and we look forward to hearing about the story here.
Yeah, guys, look, it's a really simple story. In 2013, the Newman Todd project, which is our flagship project, maybe 18 kilometers away from Evolution, similar distance from Battle North's mine, which is now also Evolution, obviously, after the takeout. Newman Todd had a $200 million valuation in 2013, and it was being drilled by a gentleman by the name of Bob Singh, and Bob is the driller for Great Bear. So a really credible guy, actually a super guy. I've talked to him a couple times, and the reason why the valuation was so high, it was split 50-50. Confederation was paying for the drilling and Red Star was doing the drilling, and Red Star was Bob Singh and Confederation is now Trillium. Yeah, okay. A little bit complicated, but really it's the same parties, the same two parties. They were hitting 30 meters of 12, 20 meters of 7, very, very similar sections akin to what Great Bear is hitting. And it was driving tremendous value, but obviously a 50-50 JV is not where you want to be. And Trillium, which was Confederation, had the right to earn in an additional 20% of the project. And so they pulled the trigger on that, stopped the drilling. The market went to crap, really. It was funny. I worked for a company called Caden, which we sold to Agnico for $205 million. But in any other gold market, it would have been many multiples of that. Yes. And so that same pressure that was on the general market hit Trillium, or Confederation at the time. The project went into care and maintenance, and ultimately Confederation earned into 83.5% of it. And the good news is that when I came on board late July, early August, Red Star had a new CEO as well, and they're now called Heliostar. And so rather than it being a frustrating relationship like the way it was back in 2013, we were financed. We'd done a deal, $1.70 financing for $13 million in October. And we took out the balance of the project. And then, as you know, we've added in a bunch of other projects. Yes. And so really, like the simplistic way that I explain Trillium to people is, look, this is an asset that had a $200 million valuation in 2013 in a horrible gold market. And again, we're kind of in a horrible gold market again. But now we actually have a $30 million valuation, or a $50 million valuation, fully diluted. And
also, like you're saying, like it would have been what, 850 gold back then, like 2013, somewhere around there, and we're looking at 1760. So
I would say it was probably 980 to 1180.
980. Okay,
yeah. It was basically when everyone was forecasting the demise and the end of the gold market in general. And so, like you have one of these rare stories in a junior where you have a really tight share structure. We only have 52 million shares fully diluted. We've got $6.5 million. This is actually a little bit outdated. It's 6.5. But management and insiders own close to 40% of the company. Retail owns close to 40% of the company. And I honestly think the only people who have really hammered out the stock recently, when gold was 1850, cresting down to 1680. I think a couple of institutions just blew their stock out. But if you go look at the insider filings, I didn't even know it, but someone just put it on CEO.ca. I've personally bought about 200 grand worth of stock in the last month.
Nice. Yeah.
So insider buying is almost
high.
always a good thing, and that's representative of the belief that I have in the project. And quite frankly, like what I would say to everybody out there, the junior market is ostensibly broken. Like there are hundreds of companies in Red Lake who own a fraction of the land package we own, that just pump their stock, raise some money, drill a couple of holes, and then go back to their previous, low or mid or whatever. And we're trying to recreate a better world or a better junior, and consequently we have the largest land package in Red Lake. Maybe Evolution now after the acquisition of Battle North, but it's going to be close. So we have a major land package. We have great near-term projects in Newman Todd and Gold Center, and then of course we have that incredible exploration portfolio that we haven't even touched yet, because basically winter came along after we raised our money, and so we ended up basically focusing on drilling, and that's all we've been doing, drilling.
I love it. Now, I want to take a step back though, because we talked about gold and the value of gold, and I know Austin is kind of in deep with that whole Reddit crowd, and he's more of a young gun, looks at crypto, he's in Wall Street bets, all that sort of stuff, and he read a great article. So I'll let you take away, Austin, because you talked about value and gold and crypto. So I wanted to kind of intertwine the two of them into this conversation to some degree.
Yeah, it was a fantastic article, actually. When I found out that you were going to be coming on and chatting with us, I just did a little bit of research, and I saw an article that you had written about early last week, talking about how Bitcoin and gold are complementary investments. I thought that was really exciting, so I was hoping you'd kind of be able to just walk us through your thoughts on that, and how you do see those two kind of going hand in hand. Yeah,
so literally my portfolio is gold and basically crypto. I'm a huge believer in decentralized finance, and a big investor in a company called DeFi, which literally just had a Seeking Alpha article written on it. But what I was trying to do, I'm really tired of the whole U.S. mantra of Bitcoin is the new gold. People are selling gold to buy Bitcoin. That's just not true. The Bitcoin market is $1 trillion. Gold is many multiples of that. Has cannabis and psychedelics stolen a lot of the momentum from what would and should be a really crazy big gold market? Absolutely. But crypto and gold are siblings. They should be viewed in a similar fashion, and in my opinion, you should be long both. And it's funny, I was talking to my banker at Scotia, and I said, what do you invest in? And he was like, well, I'm in the Scotia diversified portfolio. And I was like, well, tell me what's in it. And he walked through, and I said, well, what about copper? What about nickel? What about gold? What about crypto? And he was like, no, there's nothing in there. It's a diversified portfolio. It's equities and bonds. And I was like, there's nothing diversified about what you're actually doing. You have no hedge against rampant inflation at all. And if that's what's being marketed to the average citizen, we're in trouble. And so, back to your question, Austin, or at least your point, my view is really the way that this should be going is not a win-lose or a hate-like. It should be a let's be friends. This is how you protect yourself against the destruction of fiat. And, I have a master's in economics. I started my PhD in econometrics at McGill. This is not a difficult concept to understand. The problem is that governments have convinced people that you can print money endlessly. But the analogy I try to give is, look, if you go to a parking lot and there are 1 million Ford Fiestas, are you going to pay $1 for it, or are you going to pay $1 million for it? I mean, if there's that many Ford Fiestas, they're virtually worthless. Likely, you're never going to be able to find a resale market. People need to understand that as you print currency, you are literally belittling the value of whatever it is that you're adding to. And in Canada, the famous quote, and I'll be very political with this because I'm actually, quite frankly, tired of listening to what our government's proposing. But if you're going to add the amount of debt that Canada has added, that is going to destroy the Canadian dollar. Thankfully, every other country is destroying their fiat currency, but it's also going to destroy the value of things in the future. And so we're only hurting our children, or Austin, or my kids, or whatever. And so if you're long in my opinion, copper, gold, and silver are the three least invested commodities in the world right now. If you're long those or crypto, or quite frankly, DeFi, which I think is going to destabilize everything, I think you're in a really good position to be protected from the future and what governments are doing to us.
Yeah, this day and time of just simply kind of extremely passively investing in some sort of fund. And I think I read somewhere it's like 88% of North Americans, so Canadians, US, are very passively in some sort of fund that's managed in some kind of way that might have some mistermed title, global diversified, and you look and go, there's nothing in here. It's the same stuff. When it could be your Canadian equity or your US equity, it has the same top five as any other equity.
Well, the other thing is too, I'm just going to sort of interject is your traditional 20-year ago investor would probably have, 70% equities, 20% bonds, and then 10% commodities. Now it's, 80 equities, 20 bonds, or 50-50 or whatever, but fixed income doesn't exist anymore, right? The governments that we know currently are controlling the yield curve. And so from a money manager's perspective, you're actually getting no yield from any sort of fixed income instrument because it's negative yielding. And so, one of the things that it just amazes me with DeFi and this company that I always keep on talking about, and I'm talking my own book, I'm long it, I should let everybody know that. But, if you can create a treasury product that actually yields, like you can generate yields of 10, 15% in the crypto world. And so, while you're looking at the US dollar and US debt and the negative yields on US treasuries and whatnot, there actually is an alternative solution, which I think people are going to figure out as well. So look, the world is changing. People are asleep at the wheel. It is a world of lemmings right now. I continue to push it, and I'll keep on saying it. Trillium's a great investment, but if you don't believe in Trillium, find another gold investment or gold itself, but make sure it's an ETF backed by physical gold.
Actual gold, yes.
Yeah, be long, because most ETFs aren't backed by any gold. It's fractional, if any gold
at best, yes. Yeah. I'm glad you said that too, because it is. I always tell people, like, listen, there's so much chaos. I get it. There's lots of people stressed. They're overwhelmed. But if you're getting distracted by all of the noise, whether it's something on YouTube or it's a comment made here or there, you're getting caught in the distraction. You're not focused on what's happening around you, what's actually taking place. And there is a shift. And if you're not participating, if you are, you've got a chance at making, and not to be too promotional here, but intergenerational wealth. You have a chance to ride this wave along with it. If you get overwhelmed by it, you're going to get caught in the swell. You're going to be sucked under, and you're going to be forgotten. And that's we're at a pivotal point now where, and I love how you kind of said, like, the gold thing. I never liked when people position this crypto is going to steal from the 7 trillion gold market. That's where it's going to get their value. And it's like, no, they don't need to. There's a bigger market to take that money from. And especially commodities, gold, copper, nickel, lithium, they work perfectly well with a blockchain. So they are better related than they are to position an opposition. So I never liked that opposition voice.
Well, it's funny, like the way I, whenever I get sort of, I don't know, waxing poetic on this with people, I often say, just look to Europe and look to Asia, and there you have a long view on where the world is going, and gold and cryptos are in extreme high demand. Asia literally just China released restrictions on gold imports. Unheard of on their end. They've created, it's funny, you go to the US and you Google the petro yuan and you basically pull up almost nothing because the networks are controlled, but the petro yuan is now a way to settle oil in either Chinese renminbi yuan or gold. And people don't understand, like, history is what is being rewritten right now. The elimination of the gold standard and the settling of commodities in US dollars was what made the US what it is today. And of course, technology and effort and hard work, but all of that, 5 trillion in debt, or 15 or whatever it is that's being issued by the US, none of that's gone into anything hard. It's gone into a market for things where we are the product, versus in China, maybe a decade ago, when they had the same sort of stimulus to try to turn their economy around, everything went into hard assets. And so you have to be very, very aware of what is coming. And you see it in the divisiveness, like how Trump won wasn't because he's a great guy and he you know is a great leader. He won because he's allowing the voice of the dissenters to finally come to the front.
Yes.
And it's a divisive country. This is not, you know, a US where everybody's swinging the bat in the same direction.
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe this isn't exactly where we wanted to go in this conversation, but in my view, like the best place to be, and look, Facebook might have another couple of years of knock it out of the park returns, but we are the product. They aren't generating anything for us. Yeah. So unless you're actually doing something in a hard asset, whether it be, you know, oil might be one of the outliers just because of the EV trend, but I still think oil has a role in the world. But commodities in general will protect you against inflation. And that's what you're seeing. Dr. Copper is at all-time highs over the last decade. And usually when you see all the commodities running, gold will follow and silver will follow. Right. And it's just a matter of being a little bit patient. But when it comes, you know, my worry is that it seems like everything happens faster these days. And so when the sell-off does occur, it's probably not going to give people the opportunity to get out. They're going to be at the back of the bus while all these algorithms basically just destroy the value in the market.
Now, to bring it back, I guess, a little bit towards the gold again. Yes, sorry,
Austin, you're absolutely right. That's a brilliant take to have on it. Yeah. No, I was just saying, you know, I think that's a brilliant take to have on it, and it's something we need to be actively thinking about it. Andrew and I talk about it all the time. Is you've got to be thinking about this. You got to be on this path. You're going to be left in the dust. So it's important for that message, I think, to come across to people.
Yeah, and to pull it back to like hard assets, people are looking to go, well, should I buy gold then, or should I buy an ETF? It's like, well, listen, this junior market. And you hinted about it. I mean, there's lots of lifestyle companies, and quite frankly, there's a lot of bullshit out there.
Too many,
and that's fine. Yep. And we can sift through them. I find pretty quickly, and we'll put up a little slide here. I mean, your management team here. That's the first place I'll look. I'll go. Listen, let's look at the metal you're looking at. Let's look at the region or the postal code you're in. You're right in the right area, and then let's look at this team. And this team, have they developed? Have they kept their promises? Have they met milestones in the past? Yep. And that's a pretty good indicator of will they do that again. Now, things happen in projects. We can't predict the future. But when you have a solid management team with a great track record and real projects attract real people, that is certainly de-risking enough on something where there's a good, healthy risk-reward application for an upside, speculative upside. I know I'm filling a lot of things in here at once, but this is a great leverage point for someone to say, listen, I want to be able to make better multiples than if I just stock my money in and just buy physical gold. Is that, listen, these companies have had such like little inflows of cash. And I always liken it to, at some point it's going to come. If Apple loses $1 billion today, who cares? It doesn't make a difference. It's not even a blip. If you try to shove $1 billion into the junior Canadian market, that's going to move a lot of stuff.
Look, the junior market is at all-time lows versus the S&P, the Dow. Like, I mean, you take whatever U.S. exchange you want to take a look at, it's all-time lows. And David Rosenberg, who's a really famous economist, basically said a while back, he's like, the number that people are forgetting is 13 million. And what is that 13 million? It's 13 million millennials who have never seen a market sell-off. They've never seen what happens when Nortel goes from 200 or 300 or whatever it was to zero. And when it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that happens. You're going to wish you were long commodities, gold, copper, whatever, and in my opinion, crypto as well. But back to your point, I mean, the way that I invest is, you know, are insiders buying? Does management buy? Well, I bought 200 grand worth of stock in the last month. How many drills are turning? We're going to have our third drill rig turning in probably 2 weeks. Are they financed? Yes, we're financed. Will we need to finance again? Of course. Every junior in the world needs to finance. That's just a matter of the business.
And you've got like 11 million warrants out right now as well. Some of that's in the money already.
Yeah, we could bring another 3 million. Those are all in friendly hands. So yeah, I mean, we could bring another 3 million hard dollars in. But the last point is, where are they operating? What's the geographic? What's the postal code, as you mentioned? And Red Lake is literally one of the most preeminent gold mining jurisdictions in the world. And there are a lot of people who get sucked into the, this is a great story in East Timor or Ghana or wherever. But, right now, the valuations on all gold stories are basically fractional versus where they've historically been. The money allocated from a fund perspective is at all-time lows into the commodity space and the gold space. And so, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I'm not saying you have to buy Trillium. You can buy another company in Canada. The previous company I worked for, which is now known as Fury, has some great projects in Quebec and Nunavut in BC. There are good other stories that are cashed up and have good management teams. But why look at Africa when you can buy something just as cheap in Canada? And this is a slide, in my opinion, that tells almost the entire story. And if you look at Great Bear is a discovery on a belt, the Confederation Greenstone Belt, that was viewed historically as a base metals belt, and no one was looking for gold on it. And Bob Singh and Chris Taylor have done a bang up job. They've created huge value for their shareholders. Outside of maybe Silvercrest, which is another company I know and like. Chris Ritchie's a friend. They're like the two best in class in the gold and silver space. But, we took a view that Mother Nature tends to repeat herself. And if you've had that much gold in a jurisdiction with the amount of sort of seismic activity that's occurred in Red Lake, you want to have a dominant land position. And so we made a mental effort with our team. And you got to remember, our geological team is 150 plus years of exploration and production in Red Lake. These guys know what they're doing. We made the view that there's going to be another discovery on that Confederation Belt, and we want to own as much of it as we can. And that's what we did. We just haven't had a chance to explore it yet. And that's about to begin. So we've been unfortunately cursed with the assay turnaround bug. All of the assay labs are doing a pretty bad job of turning assays around. It has to do a little bit with COVID, but it also has to do with the fact that they actually take fixed rate contracts before us little guys. So they prioritize, evolution over top of us. But it's across the universe, right? It's not us. It's every single company. So we have 5,000 meters of core in the assay lab right now. Look, we know we have a mine in Newman Todd, and we know that people are paying no attention to it. And we get on these Zoom, like you can't do it in person anymore, but you get on these Zoom conference calls and you try to tell your story and explain to people, look, it doesn't get much cheaper than Trillium right now. So.
No, for this value and what's going on right now, it is shocking. I mean, I might get some of the numbers here wrong, but across this big, huge land package too, I mean, you've got tons of data, you've got tons of historical data, and you're also, is it a 40-year, 50,000 drill program that's going to be
40,000 meters, maybe 45,000. We've done probably 8 or 9 of it already. 5 of it's in the assay lab, 4 of it's going into the assay lab, and we'll have 3 drill rigs turning. And our Gold Center project, we're getting no value for it. And it's the only analogy I can give is Gold Eagle, which sold to Goldcorp for $1.5 billion in 2008, I believe. We literally, it's not certain. Nothing's ever certain with Mother Nature, but it's incredibly likely that we have the continuation of the Red Lake mine, which is 25.6 million ounces at greater than an ounce. And it trends right onto the Gold Center property, and we're about to drill that. Any other gold market, and we'd be trading at 5 times where we're trading at. Who knows? Just on that asset alone, and the speculation that you might hit the continuation of one of the largest mines in the world. And then we have Newman Todd, and then we have all that exploration property. So look, it's tough as a CEO because you take your share price personally, and that's why I'm buying. I want people to understand that I feel their pain. I don't believe I should be telling someone else to buy if I'm not. And if you're invested in a company where they're pitching you to buy and they don't own a major position of the company, don't do it. They're not aligned.
They're not aligned. And you have 40% of management, and everyone likes to hear, because I've asked different CEOs, well, what else are you buying? And usually the good ones, it's like, well, bought a little of this one, but I'm buying more of this.
Yep.
Because
yep. I'm buying my own company because I believe in myself.
I know it.
My team.
I see it. It's happening.
Yeah. No, and that's why they publish these Inc. research, which insiders have been buying the most of their company. And I don't know where I sit, but look, 200,000 matters to me. So
absolutely.
But look, all we can do is keep having these conversations. I really do think that to Austin's comment, we need to really be realigning people's mentality with crypto and gold should be buddies, not enemies. In the article, there was a little, I don't want to say it was a dig at Peter Schiff because he's brilliant. And, I started Euro-Pacific Canada, which is now Echelon, which was, a name brand Peter Schiff. And he's brilliant. And the Austrian Economic School I think, got it right. But I just don't think it's crypto sucks and gold wins or crypto's amazing and gold sucks. It really has to be, look, guys, like there are two ways that you can protect yourself and you probably should be doing both. And that's, I'd like us all to be friends. And I'm going to Consensus, which is a big crypto conference. I'm actually speaking at it on the, why is this happening? Like, why is CNBC out there saying, gold's terrible, you got to do that? Well, to me, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I think crypto really isn't on the regulators' radar screen yet. Once it is, you're probably going to see a little bit of the manipulation like you see in the gold space. But for the time being, they're safe and gold isn't. But it's only a matter of time. If China keeps on buying the gold and continues to remain pro crypto, really, do you think the US is going to stop that? No chance. No chance.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to arm Austin with too, is to tell this story. If I try to get into like a Wall Street Bets channel, they'll be like, "Get away, boomer! You're old." But we can arm Austin with the information and say, "Listen, you have a huge potential multiple over here with a solid asset, and they're not competing. They don't have to be competing. There's plenty of money out there. That's people forget. There's trillions of dollars and ready to flow in, but also this should be reallocated anyway. And getting a little bit of momentum means this whole mining sector, never mind just gold, will start to move very quickly and can certainly move quickly. And this stock.
Well, they're getting close to creating some sort of a major problem in the silver space.
Yes.
And like gold is going to be much tougher just because it's in terms of the amount of derivative products on it, it's staggeringly bigger than silver even. But the reality is these all have merit, to your point. I'm saying to people now, look, you can buy Trillium, which is probably a 5-bagger, or I've taken a new stance, like crypto's great, like Ethereum's great, Bitcoin's great, but look at what the DeFi space is doing. Like people are actually missing the next iteration as well in the crypto space, which arguably is the destabilization of the entire financial sector, which DeFi is. And so there's all sorts of crazy things going on that the market's missing, in my opinion. And I often say, look, if the market was efficient, we'd never make money. Everything would be fairly valued. So how you make money is due to the inefficiencies. And would you rather be buying something at an all-time low, or would you rather be buying something at an all-time high, or would you rather be buying DeFi, which probably is going to expand 50 times in terms of market share, or would you rather be buying Bitcoin, which might double? You have to run through all of these thought processes, and is Ethereum going to eclipse Bitcoin? I don't think so, but the fact that DeFi is on the Ethereum network, that's a pretty big deal, and that's why Ethereum is performing so well. So, one of the things I've said, it's funny, our head of IR, there's a picture of me on one of those that's wearing a plaid shirt, and I've got my beard and my crazy wild hair, and she's like, you got to change it back to your LinkedIn or whatever. And I was like, no, the gold industry is basically famous for like 3-piece suits and cigars, sitting in leather chairs in private clubs. That's not what we want to be anymore. If you want to bring the gold market and what it represents to Austin and his crowd, you have to be more accessible. You have to be more laid back. And honestly, that's what gold is. Like gold should be viewed like this crypto solution to the destabilization of or the destruction of fiat currency. So,
well, great.
Yeah,
well,
no,
we've given Austin a new project too to read all about DeFi and explain it to me.
That's
well. Look, I'm happy to have
what my homework for the weekend is now. So.
Yeah, no, Austin, just give me a call. I'll walk you through it. It's pretty fascinating, and but yeah, like just to leave it on a really upbeat note for Trillium, the amount of news we have coming it's 5,000 meters of core in an assay lab, and the drill bit is where you create value, and then we're going to have 3 drill rigs turning. We're financed to drill another 40,000 meters. So there's a lot to come from this company. And if you're interested in getting some exposure to the gold space, we're honestly at valuation levels that are shockingly low, even in a historical context. So, hopefully people on your show get interested. I'm accessible anytime. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or through the website. And I really appreciate you guys for having me on board.
Thanks so much for taking the time. And yes, I mean, Trillium is locked and coiled, as I would say, all charged up, ready to go. It's coiled and ready to go.
You bet.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Happy Friday. And this has been very educational. It's been a great, fun chat. And we really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Austin. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Russell. Yeah, we'll chat to you soon. Cheers.
You got it. Bye-bye.